morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Monday, the 26th day of August, year of our Lord 2019. Welcome to the John Moore Show. We begin our shows with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our prepper tip of the day is I want to encourage people to get camouflage clothing items that's appropriate for your area of operation. It's going to be different in different parts of the country and different seasons in different parts of the country. For here in the Midwest, I'm a big fan of the woodland pattern. These digital camouflages that the military went to was meant to confuse computer generated optics. Don't work so good for human eyeballs. They're getting away from it. It was a massive mistake. But your prep tip of the day is to get camouflage appropriate for your area of operation. This is Firearms Monday. Every Monday we visit with my friend Sam Andrews, the proprietor of Freedom Center USA. The Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. The telephone down there in beautiful Lebanon, Missouri is area code 417-718-2597. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, John. Top of the morning to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, we're having a unusual summer, to say the least. These temperatures are way below what they should be. I don't hear any of my neighbors complaining. Do you?
Oh, the global warming was brutal on us this weekend in our long-range training class. We were 75 degrees and cloudy with beautiful light winds. What a great weekend to train for long-range shooting. Had a great class this weekend.
Absolutely. More like October than August for this part of the country, but we're not complaining. How many students did you have in your long-range class this weekend?
Well, we had 6 people there, and it was interesting. We had 4 guys that were relatively new to long-range shooting, and they were making consistent hits at 800 yards on day one. It was just exciting to watch.
I bet it was. That was after the classroom work, of course, and some preps.
Well, we had a slow start. You know, we do the classroom work. We talk about the fundamentals of shoulder pressure, sight alignment, breath control, trigger control, follow through, sampling the wind at specific times right before the shot and after the shot. And, you know, the guys got out there on the line in the morning, and it was miss, 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 hit, miss, hit, miss. And there was a lot of closing your bolt and not chambering around. And I was thinking to myself, this can't go on all weekend. And then in the afternoon, after lunch, it's like the light bulb switched on. The guys kind of got in a rhythm. They started to get the sequencing down of what they're supposed to do on the gun, and it was just hit, hit, hit the rest of the day. And at the end of the day on Sunday, I threw $20 down, and I said, all right, closest to the center of the steel target at 600, and we have a 12-inch gong that was clean, had no bullet strikes on it at 600, and I said, you guys to shoot at that 12-inch round gong for $20. Closest to the center wins. And you know, these guys made cold bore first-round hits on a 600-yard target the second day they ever trained on a rifle. I was so happy I can't even begin to tell you how excited that gets me to see guys develop that quickly.
Well, it is exciting. I'm glad to hear that. Well, we're all anxiously waiting to hear what the firearms tip of the week would be, sir.
Well, the firearms tip of the week this week is to practice what you're practicing during the day at night. Practice blindfolded in a dark bathroom, whatever it is you have to do. If you have to practice your mag changes, go in the bathroom, turn the lights out, practice in the dark. You have to learn to do things by feel. The coming conflicts are not going to be during the day. They're going to go down at night, and you have to be able to operate in the dark by feel. You're not going to be able to do it by eyesight. And so it's really important to be familiar enough with your guns and with your magazines to practice in the dark. Now, I want to be very specific here. Do not use live ammo. When you practice in the dark, use snap caps. Don't have any live ammo in the room that you drive fire practice in. Don't have any ammo in the room when you practice your mag changes. It must be snap caps or inert ammo. It cannot be live ammunition.
And if you do use live ammunition, take photographs of your feet barefoot first so you can remember what your toes used to look like before you shot off one or two.
No, I know you're joking, John, but please do not under any circumstances ever do that in the dark with live ammo. It's just not a good thing.
No,
but learning the feel of where your bolt release is, where your mag release is, where your safety. And it's interesting that when you turn the lights out or blindfold yourself, how it enhances what you feel and what you recognize with your hands. It's a great way to train on how to keep your weapon running.
Absolutely. Well, I do emphasize the same thing in my training, and I know just routinely I will walk around my premises here at night with no artificial light, and just to make sure I keep myself familiar with where everything is. And that's a good thing, is to be able to walk around all your premises, your home, your ranch, your farm at night without any artificial light. It's good practice, and I think everybody should do that, don't you?
Absolutely. You should be working on your skills in the dark. And I'm not saying spend 2 hours, but just 15, 20 minutes 3 times a week or even twice a month. You'll be light years ahead of where you would have been if you didn't do this stuff in the dark. And by the way, I just want to have a shout out to Tracy in Ohio. Her thermal unit arrived, so give me a call, Tracy.
All right. Okay. Well, I had lunch with a couple of friends yesterday, and I brought up the topic of making sure you've got night vision or thermal imaging or both for the coming hard times. And one gentleman, in fact, he's one of your customers, he already had an excellent night vision scope. The other gentleman did not, and so I'm doing that with basically everybody I associate with that's interested in prepping and being prepared. Encourage them to get thermal imaging if they can afford it. Night vision if they can't afford high-quality thermal imaging. But what I tell people, Sam, is some night vision is better than no night vision at all. If you can't afford the high-end stuff, at least get something. What we use in Vietnam is obviously antique by now in terms of capability and size and weight. But what was accomplished with those units back then, 50 years ago, was phenomenal. And I just want to keep emphasizing over and over again, and I know you agree with me, that having that capability is not optional, is it?
No, it really isn't optional at this point. It's not an option. You better have it or you're in big trouble. And here's the thing. When you buy night vision, understand that the cheap night vision will only work on average less than 1,000 hours. If you're buying a Gen 1 night vision device, your mean time between failure of that unit is going to be under 1,000 hours. So you can't play with that every day just goofing around. You've got to get familiar with it and turn it off, pull the batteries out of it, and store it and keep it for when you need it. Now, a second gen, their mean time between failures is under 10,000 hours. So you've got a little more. And the third gen and the Pinnacle auto-gated units, their mean time between failures is well over 30,000 hours. Also understand this about night vision. Most night vision intensifier tubes cannot handle recoil. They're not very good at resisting recoil. So if you're mounting it on a weapon sight, don't put it on a 30-06 or a 300 Win Mag. Make sure you're a lighter loaded 308 or smaller weapon system if you're going to mount it to a weapon system. Personally, I wouldn't use night vision on anything heavier than a 5.56. We've just seen problems over the years with intensifier tubes failing under recoil.
Well, that's good advice, and that's knowledge that is not made obvious by the manufacturers, the people that sell these things, that I'm aware of, is it?
Well, it's obvious to me because most of them only give a 1-year warranty on their tubes. Now, when we sell thermal units, we give a lifetime warranty. You can put a thermal unit on a 50 cal and it'll hold up. It's just different technology. It's not as fragile as the intensifier tube technology in night vision.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. And that's why people listen to Firearms Monday, to get knowledge they can't possibly get anywhere else, can they?
Well, you're not going to read about it on the internet or see it on YouTube, the things that we're talking about. It's highly unlikely. So if you have an interest in what actually works in the real world, this is a great place to be. Call in with your questions. We'll answer them, and we'll give you the truth.
Absolutely. Well, the call number is 800-313-9443. Your classes that you offer down there, are they all listed at your Facebook page at Freedom Center USA?
Well, we just went through a round of classes, and anything that's scheduled currently is on the calendar or on the page itself. If you scroll down our Facebook page, you'll see announcements for classes. Like the next thing we have going is I have a really good trust attorney coming in on Saturday at 2 o'clock to do a seminar on how to properly create a gun trust.
That's good. That's good.
And
I've looked into
if you're
myself.
interested,
Yeah,
if you're interested in that class, give me a call, and we've got 2 seats left. If you're interested in that class, give me a call, and we'll save a space for you. But this guy is the best trust. He's the lead trust attorney for a national investment firm. He is one of the top trust attorneys in the world, and he's going to come down on Saturday and do a seminar for free and help you create your own gun trust on the spot.
that's good. I know just before Obama left office, they changed the gun trust laws considerably, and people need to get up to speed on that. We've got a caller on hold here. We're at Ty in Texas. Good morning, Ty.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Tony.
Regarding night vision versus thermal, I've been listening to this discussion that we've all been having together on Mondays for quite a while. And Sam, you and I even spoke personally at one point. We discussed this a little bit, and I thought,
Yes.
I'm just going to save. I'm going to save for the thermal. I'm going to wait, and instead of doing a Gen 3 night vision scope, I'm going to save for the thermal. And then a little bit of reality sunk in, and for me to save for the $6,000 to $8,000 range would be probably a multi-year event, just because I can't get it to the top of some other things that are family related. But I feel like I could cross the bridge there financially for the Gen 3 technology in, say, the $3,000 to $4,000 range. What do you recommend, Sam? I know you say go thermal, but if I have to just push that off the table, and I've made the decision that I'm going to go with night vision Gen 3 versus a long period of time of nothing, what direction would I go? Would you just say go PVS 14? Let me let you take it from there.
Okay, well, you have a couple of options in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. You can go with a lower-end thermal with like a 320 by 240 resolution, or you can go with a third-gen tube that's not auto-gated, or a third-gen plus tube that is auto-gated, and we probably need to explain that a little bit, because there's a big difference between a $3,000 PVS 14 and a $4,000 PVS 14, and the differences have tactical significance. So, for example, let's say you're using a really nice, high-performance third-gen tube that costs about $3,200 in a PVS 14. It's not thin film auto-gated. It's not the Gen 4 alternating current design, but it's a good quality third-gen tube. So you're looking through this at a potential threat. And let's say this guy's leaning up against a car on the front of the bumper of a pickup truck. And the guy in the pickup truck all of a sudden turns his lights on and starts his engine. those headlights are possibly going to burn your tube and damage your night vision device if you buy that $3,200 unit. Now, the interesting thing about the thin film auto-gated higher-end 3rd Gen Plus and 4th Gen night vision tubes is, in that same scenario, not only when the guy turns his lights on will your tube not be damaged because the alternating current allows this tube to self-protect much quicker, but it will self-adjust, and you'll still be able to see the threat even though he's standing between two headlights of a vehicle, which is a remarkable optical trick. But that's how those units are constructed. With a 3rd Gen Plus tube, an auto-gated alternating current tube, you can go from a dark warehouse with no light in it, running out into the street in the daylight and back into another dark warehouse, and you'll be able to sight and use your night vision tube without damaging it if it's that higher level of technology. So there is a huge difference between a 3rd Gen tube and a 4th Gen tube. Now, as far as what you can do with thermal at $4,000, we don't typically sell those units because they don't have the resolution of the modern engines, but they're out there, and sometimes you can find a really nice one on sale. So, you know, if you're looking in the $3,000 to $4,000 range, we just got to keep our eyes open for the right 3rd Gen Plus night vision or the right thermal unit for the right price.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's excellent information. Hope you all have a great day.
Thank you, Ty. Appreciate
Thank
your
you,
call.
Ty. Have a great week.
The call number is 800-313-9443. Sam, my career in the military, including Special Forces, I never touched a firearm that had any optics on it rather than above and beyond the regular iron sights. Now, I saw them in the Special Forces arms room that I was a guard for on an odd occasions, but never really got to touch them. We've got a break. We'll be right back.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
All right, now we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We had some technical difficulties there. I apologize. We're going on a cruise. It will be a fun cruise, an informative cruise, educational and romantic. We got the Valentine's Day right in the middle. We leave Florida February 9th, return the 16th. All the details are at my website at thelibertyman.com. You can to make reservations, call our cruise director, Betsy Murphy, at 636-530-9502. Also, if you don't have internet connection, she will send you a very nice full-color brochure. Betsy Murphy, our cruise director, her telephone, 636-530-9502. This is Firearms Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews, the proprietor of Freedom Center USA, down there in Lebanon, Missouri. And the telephone number, if you need to talk to Sam about a class or some training or some equipment, that telephone number is, 417-718-2597. Sam, we have a lot of listeners that even a $3,000 to $4,000 night vision would be more than they could put together in a reasonable period of time. I refer to telescopic sights that have an illuminated reticle as quote-unquote poor man's night vision for the following reason. Most of the time, there's enough ambient light to see your target on one hand. On the other, you can't see your sights. Iron sights are standard sights on a telescopic scope. Night vision, an illuminated reticle can serve that purpose, not obviously as well as thermal imaging, not as well as night vision, but it's a tremendous step above iron sights or a regular telescopic sight that does not have an illuminated reticle. And it's a lot more affordable for people. They can get a good quality scope. Let's say Vortex, for example, is pretty good quality for way less than $1,000. In the $500 to $600 range, get something that's pretty decent and will stand up to the recoil of a centerfire rifle, and fill in the gap and give them something as opposed to nothing when they can't afford $3,000+ for a regular night vision scope. So your response, sir?
Well, we probably disagree a little bit on this one. The devil's in the details. So if there's half moonlight or more moon shining, a standard scope with a lighted reticle, well, you can actually see quite a bit because the objective lens, particularly if it's lower power, like 10 to 14 power with a large objective lens, that gathers a lot of light for your eye. But you need to know what to turn the power ring to optimize the light for your eye, and we could talk about that in detail if you'd like. The problem with the lighted reticles is your opponent or the threat that you may be up against can see that lighted reticle from a tremendous distance. They actually see it through your objective lens, and they can see it shining on your face. And so it's nowhere near an ideal or even a good situation. It's really about managing things. It's really about prioritization, because you really need to save some money and get something that actually works in the dark, that seals your eye so that you don't have any light reflecting off your face. So you kind of stand out like a Christmas tree.
Okay. Now, I'm just working with what you gave us there. Now, there's two things I'm going to mention. First of all, there are these screens that fit in front of telescopic sights that help cut down the reflection. And we have a break, so we'll need to get back to this after the break. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
It is Monday, the first day of the week. Actually, Yesterday was the first day of the week, August the 26th. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. A friend of mine, former counterintelligence agent, he is now retired. He puts together a new update every day of the week. We get them posted on my website under open source intelligence. Got a really nice kind of a science fiction looking graphic there. There's a lot of work that goes into this, a lot of work. If you want to keep up to date on what's going on in the Middle East, in Asia, Africa, South America, and so forth, Europe, he gathers up these articles, he posts them, and they're there for you to read. Also, my website, of course, are energy cleaners for sale. I'm shipping out 3 this morning to people around the country. I've shipped many hundreds of these all over the planet. Literally, I haven't shipped any to the Antarctic, but I've shipped them to every other continent. Some of these third world countries are really a challenge, by the way. But we've helped thousands of people get their lives back with the energy cleaner. If you want to sleep like a small child every night like I do, get a great night's sleep, you need an energy cleaner. When you sleep is when you heal. If you have arthritis pain, you need an energy cleaner. $285, shipping included. Are you doubting Thomas? You think, well, how can that little black plastic box help me when my doctors can't? Well, that's what I'm telling you. I'm a homicide detective, not a healthcare professional, but I know it works, and that's why I put a 90-day money-back guarantee behind the energy cleaner. Check it out at my website, the energy cleaner, mattress pads that go with it. And you can place your order right there at my website using PayPal, where you do not give up your credit card information when you use PayPal. It's a great service. MasterCard, Visa, you can send me a check or a money order. My address is right there. You can even call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day and place your order that way. That toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. This is Firearms Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews, the proprietor of Freedom Center USA. That Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. And we're talking about what I call poor man's night vision. Now, Sam, I want to address the 2 issues you brought up, which are valid, of course. That's the being able to see the illuminated reticle from the front and seeing the shooter's face behind the illuminated reticle scope. Well, first of all, you turn down the illumination to the lowest level that you can still use it. That helps a lot right there. Now, I would think a clever person could find a rubber cup that could be mounted on the back end of that scope that would allow the shooter to have his eyeball against that rubber cup and eliminate that illumination of his face. Now, on the front end, I know it's generally recommended to have a sunshade as long as the scope is wide on the objective lens. And in addition, there's these wire screen devices that also cut down on illumination in a general sense in the daytime. But it stands to reason that or possibly maybe a piece of your wife's pantyhose, something like that, would also help. Of course, it's going to cut down on what you can see, but if it's a tactical situation, cutting down that illumination might mean more than being able to see everything you want to see. What do you think, sir?
Well, I think that the rubber eye cup on the scope would be a good idea that would help significantly. That would pretty much solve that problem if you knew how to use it. Now, as far as putting pantyhose or a Tenebrex filter over your objective lens, that really works well when you're looking at reflections from other light sources. It doesn't help you much when the light source is internal to the scope.
Right.
We've tested all these things, so you're better off if you're gonna use it, get a scope that has an illuminated dot and learn how to hold over and hold under at different ranges, maybe 0 to 300 yards. So you've got a decent zero up close, and you can hold just a little low at 160 to 200 yards, and where your peak ordinate is of your bullet, and then at 20, 30, 40 yards, you're almost right on the money. But rather than get a scope with a lighted reticle where the whole reticle lights up, maybe get something with a lighted dot to try and minimize your signature.
A red dot scope instead of an illuminated reticle scope. Well, these threats are going to be close. They're going to be probably 50 yards or less. At least in my neighborhood, they would be because it's so densely wooded here. So that makes a lot of sense. It absolutely does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, if you're worried about 100 yards and in, then you don't even want to buy a standard rifle scope with a lit reticle. An aim point reticle that has multiple brightness settings with a rubber eye cup would probably be the best thing for you if you couldn't afford night vision, but those are $700.
Well, for a lot of our listeners, $700 compared to $3,000 is turn something that's doable as opposed to something that's unachievable. So that could make that's good advice. Now, you'd be able to, and I know my demographics. We've got people who are listening that could write a check for $500,000. We got people listening who would struggle to write a check for $100, and everybody in between. But we try to meet the needs of all our listeners, don't we, sir?
Yeah, well, you cover, every soul is of equal value in God's eyes, so you try and cover, as many things as you can, as many ways as you can, and people have such varied resources, like you say, that I got to be honest with you, though, if you don't have thermal, you better not be wandering outside your house in a threat situation. Stay in your house, keep the lights out where you have the home field advantage, and then tritium sights or a good red dot sight with no magnification is going to be what you'll need if someone tries to get in.
That's good to know. That's absolutely good to know. And, of course, practice. Very few people do any kind of shooting at night or even low-light situations where it's right at dusk, do they?
Yeah, and unfortunately, the way our society is structured, it's difficult for people to find a place to practice if you don't own 100 acres yourself. How do you find a place to practice at night? You've got to convince your outdoor range to do some nighttime training and shooting, and sometimes with the insurance and everything, that's a tough deal to do. But it can be done. We do it at the Freedom Center. We practice at night. We train at night.
Well, that's good. And that's an extraordinary thing to find any range anywhere that will allow shooters on the range to do any kind of shooting once dusk has approached. I know that pistol class that I did with your wife, we ended up shooting. It was right at dusk, and towards the end there, I was having trouble even seeing the holes in the paper. It was getting so dark.
Yeah, it does. And, you have these tritium sights that you can put on your pistol or your AR that will glow in the dark. They're very low-level light. They still glow like a bonfire to night vision, but you can use that. The other thing is that I would highly recommend, if you're looking for a really cost-effective solution for dealing with threats in the dark, is to call me about a tactical light for your weapon system, because we can put a momentary switch on that. And the interesting thing about that is if you sense that there's a threat, or you can see a threat with your binoculars, which will really help you see at night if you buy the right type, you can put your weapon system up, shoulder it from behind cover, turn that light on, kill the threat, turn the light off in a matter of a second, and move locations.
There you go.
And that's a really, really more effective way of handling a situation than lighting yourself up with a lighted reticle where someone can just follow you around like you have a flashlight in front of your face.
Right. Well, that's good advice. That's absolutely good advice. And people need to take this to heart and act on it, don't they?
Yeah, we have bright weapon lights that'll shine to 600 yards for under $100. And you can put a momentary switch on them and set a grip up on your rifle for under $150. It's if you're talking about operating at night, that's by far the most cost-effective solution.
It's been about 40 years. Cal Light brought out what for the time, and we're talking in the mid-1970s, they brought out their first Cal lights, and that was the first upgrade in flashlight technology since before World War II that I'm aware of. And, of course, Cal lights now are looked at as heavy, primitive flashlights. but they've only been getting better and better the past 40 years of flashlight and technology in general, hasn't it?
Oh, it's amazing what's happened with these high-end LEDs. They call them SB70s and UL35s, these new high-end, high-performance LEDs. Can you imagine a light that's smaller than a handheld microphone that can shine almost 1,000 yards?
That's incredible. I know. It's been about 10 years ago. I bought a pair of 10 million candle power floodlights, battery powered, and these things are huge. About I can't describe how big they are, but they're at least a foot long and maybe 10 inches tall, and with a battery, probably weigh about 4.5, 5 pounds. I would think that at right now we can get a similar power, 10 million candle power, for a lot smaller package, can't we?
Well, if you take something about the diameter of the base of your thumb, about 1.3 inches, and about 6 inches long, and it uses one 18650 lithium battery, and it weighs about 4 ounces, and it can shine like one of those giant spotlights. It's remarkable.
It is. And you offer those for sale at your place?
We sell them all the time. I mean, it's just, and we've got the battery, the charger system, the light, everything. As a matter of fact, the latest one that we're now testing that seems to be the best one we've ever had, it will actually charge from a USB port from a little solar panel setup or from your computer, or you plug it in your lighter socket in your vehicle and plug it into a USB port in your car, and it just works. It's unbelievably high performance. It's a remarkable system.
And what light is that, Sam? Again, what light is that?
I want to say it's like a Claris 12X GT or something like that. I'll have to double check that, but it's made by Claris, and it's got a very unique shaped reflector. Most of the tactical lights that are small that mount with 1-inch scope rings, they're good to about 200, maybe 250 yards. Well, this one's got a deeper reflector, so it has a very highly focused spot, and you can see easily. We shined them on a target at 500 yards the other day, and could see a white steel target on the range at 500 yards.
That's truly incredible. This technology it's changing so fast. It's difficult to keep up with it, and that's one of the reasons people need to be, if they want to do something, to contact Sam Andrews at Freedom Center USA, so they can get state-of-the-art, the same type of equipment bought by the elite SWAT teams in the U.S. military, various military agencies, government agencies, and so forth. Because you train them guys as well, don't you?
I have sold hundreds of thousands of dollars equipment to the government. Of course, they pay at 6 months. You have to attorney has to send them a letter to get a check. So we stop selling basically unless they pay up front. But the bottom line is you can get a lot of high-end equipment for very little money if you know where to buy and what to buy. And John, I spend 15 hours a week just doing R&D, researching new products, testing new products, trying new battery systems, testing new charging systems to see which charge the batteries up the best. I mean, we go through a lot of detail to come up with systems that are rock solid and are going to perform when you need them.
I know I'm not going to mention a brand name, but one of the very popular tactical lights that are sold, maybe the best known, you were telling me it's been years ago about how fragile the switches were on these lights. And that surprised me that was the case. But that's what testing does, is find out what's good and what is defective, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, there's a company, I won't mention its name, Surefire, but they have like very very poorly designed systems. They're behind the times in LEDs. And the thing that made me so angry was we put 6 lights on St. Louis City SWAT rifles, and some of the momentary switches were failing, and they wouldn't even warranty them, and they weren't even a month old. So we stopped doing business with them and went with companies that built things that worked and that held up properly.
Right. Well, that was the company, Surefire. It's a shame that marketing can give the appearance of being something it's not, and of course we've seen that for decades, haven't we?
Yeah, if you want to spend more money and get less product, get a Trigicon. What do they call those things? They're 4-power optics, and they charge $1,000 for them. If you want to spend the most money and get the least quality, least performing light, buy a Surefire. I'm not impressed with their products. They finish at the bottom of our test with suppressors. They finish at the bottom of our test with the lights, the momentary switches, the hardware. And so doing tests, checking these things out, having them in the field with various tactical teams, and seeing what lives and what fails, it's quite an advantage. And I'm happy to share that information with anybody that's interested, because we test everything here at the Freedom Center.
Now, your class Saturday, what's the start time and finish time of the class for the gun trust?
It'll be around 2:00. Well, you want to be there about 1:45. The class is free. All you have to do is call me, sign up, and get a chair reserved. The class is free. You'll learn how to build a gun trust right there in the class, and we should be out of there by about 5:30, I would think, 2 to 5:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know, a gun trust is a legal document, a legal mechanism that would own suppressors, own machine guns, could own other things as well, short-barreled rifles, and it does make the process of buying and owning these types of equipment just a bit easier, doesn't it, sir?
Well, it protects you and your assets, and we'll talk about it after the break.
We have a break. We'll be right back.
Republic Broadcasting Network depends on listener support of our advertisers and of our sponsors. We'd like to especially thank all of you who have taken advantage of our fundraiser with FrontSight Bonus. Those who are now FrontSight members, please train as soon as possible for your sake and for that of our nation. And please consider sharing your training and what you've learned when you arrive home. Republic Broadcasting Network has to stop promoting this fundraiser on air and on the website in just a few days. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, president of FrontSight, made a gracious exception to his no media rule for us at Republic Broadcasting Network. Thank you, Dr. Piazza. And once you've been to FrontSight, feel free to call your favorite host and share your experience on the air. We can continue this fundraiser without media help, but it'll be totally up to the listeners to spread the information. Please call Dan Sutterfield in Missouri at 573-465-2356, 573-465-2356. That's 573-465-2356.
More here on Monday, the 26th of August, visiting with Sam Andrews, the proprietor of Freedom Center USA. That Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. Let's continue where we left off there, Sam.
Remind me, John, what were we talking about?
Oh, I thought you would remind me.
we were discussing the flashlights, I think. Yeah. And we were talking about how cost-effective a solution that is to fight with at night. You know, a lot of people don't realize this, but our special forces, they use night vision and thermal to approach an objective. But when they go dynamic in a building, they're using bright white light more often than not.
Really?
And they use that light to blind people, and they use a technique where they turn the light on and then turn it off and then move. And they turn it off while they're moving a certain direction, then they change direction. It's a very deceptive way to move through a building and not get shot. It's a great skill to have. And if you've ever worked as an Op 4 or done anything where you're an opposition force to guys that are trained like that, it's just fantastic to watch, and it's very deceptive. We were talking about lights, and we were talking about Surefire and the lack of reliability, I think, on some of the equipment and how we test everything here. And you can get a tremendous light system for a weapon, all configured for under $150. And I mean, state of the art. And bright enough. I'm talking almost 2,000 lumens and a spot that'll shine over 400 yards. I mean, it's just remarkable.
It is. It is remarkable, and that's good news for our listeners that they can get state-of-the-art equipment for less than $150. Now, that's for most of our listeners, that would be very doable. So that's really good news. And if you want to avail yourself of this equipment, just give Sam a call. His telephone number is 417-718-2597. The odds of your local gun shop having a clue what we're talking about are slim to none, aren't they?
Yeah, and also the local gun shops, they don't know how to configure these systems on a weapon. You know, when you look at how the SEALs and how the guys from CAG out of Fort Bragg, the guys people think of as Delta Force, these different groups, they're doing halos and hey-hos, they're diving in salt water, they're dropping out of the sky at 140 knots. It's their weapon systems and the way they put accessories on guns is much more durable than the way the average civilian does that. And if you know how to put stuff on a gun, you can make it reliable, you can make it very hard to damage. There's a certain way you go about installing a light on a weapon system. You got to know how to do that. And that way, if you're creeping through the brush or you're in a situation, you bump the corner of a wall, you don't destroy your system.
Well, that's important because things happen. It doesn't matter how well trained you are, how careful you are. Things happen. And it's good to know that these things can be configured and mounted in such a way that they are durable and can stand up to these inadvertent bumps. Top of the hour break. We'll be right back. Call number is 800-313-9443. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 26th of August. The prepper tip of the day is to encourage everybody to secure camouflage clothing and items appropriate for your area of operation and appropriate for the seasons, different seasons in your area of operation, assuming it has different seasons. That would be a good thing to do. Do it now while you can. This is Firearms Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews, the proprietor of Freedom Center USA. The Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. The telephone down there in beautiful Lebanon, Missouri is area code 417-718-2597. Well, Sam, we're going lots of different directions as usual, people are out there listening. We get the occasional call. The call number, by the way, is 800-313-9443. Don't be bashful. If you have a specific question about rifles, shotguns, pistols, ammunition, optics, training, legislation, give us a call at 800-313-9443. Sam, I get questions off air that people want me to ask you, and I don't know if people have work conflicts, they can't call in during the show. But
yes,
my goal is to make sure people get the answers they're looking for, that we break through the old wives' tales and mythology, and there's certainly a lot of misinformation in the gun culture, even among men and women who've been part of the gun culture for decades, isn't there?
Yeah, and, it's reflective of today's society. We have a lot of tribalism in today's society. We've gotten away from individual accountability and facts and truth, and we've all, as a group, sort of gone into this tribalistic mode. So there's a lot of brand loyalty. Like you talk about rifle scopes. There are people that love one brand of rifle scope, no matter how bad they are, no matter how bad their record tube systems fail and don't track, they'll claim that's the best rifle scope on the planet.
Right.
And, if you're into tribalism, you need to check yourself because, the Ford, Chevy, Dodge argument is rather silly when your drive shaft just broke off and you're sitting on the side of the road.
Right.
And so you need to say and be truthful and say, well, this particular truck design is strong in this area, but it may be a little weaker in that area. Maybe I can do something to strengthen that weakness. And be honest and objective about, when I was talking to Mark Karachi, who is a SEAL Team 6 guy, 22 years in Naval Special Operations. We used to work together on things. And I asked Mark a question. And I asked him, what is the most important thing to the survivability of a warrior? What makes you harder to kill than any other attribute? And you know what his answer was? It was objectivity. He says you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be objective. You have to not let your emotions shade your decision-making. And it was a really interesting answer, something I didn't expect.
Well, and that's good advice from somebody who's been there and done that. We got a couple of callers on hold. First, we go to Fred in Wisconsin. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, Fred. Are you there?
Hello, Fred. Well, it looks like Fred's gone now. Next, we go to Kyle in Montana. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning, gentlemen. What you were talking about that time when neither one of you could remember was the gun trust, and I really did want to hear more on that.
That's good. Thank you for the reminder.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for reminding two old men that probably have short-term memory issues.
Yeah, well, I always tell people I got a great memory. It's just real short.
Well, the gun trust, the advantage is that, let's say that they changed the regs, like in the bump stock situation, they didn't pass a law to ban bump stocks. Your duly elected representative did not vote on a law to ban bump stocks. The ATF, this regulatory committee for the executive branch through inappropriate behavior, just decided to create their own law and ban bump stocks. And so what happens when they ban firearms or they ban semi-autos or they ban AR-15s? Here's the interesting thing with the gun trust. If you have your suppressor, your machine guns, your full auto stuff, anything that's an NFA class weapon in a gun trust, or even your rifles in a gun trust, and something happens to you, after 30 days, the ATF comes looking for anything that's NFA classification. Anything that's bannable, they're going to come looking for. Now, if you have that stuff in a trust, there's no reason for them to come looking for it. They have no reason to knock on your door. They have no reason to grab a warrant and come search your home. So because you've created a successor trustee, so there's a seamless transition of those items that are under control of regulation. There's a seamless transition to the next person in the trust. And also, if you have, let's say you have a suppressor and you'd like to loan it out to your son to hunt with or to shoot with, or your best friend or whatever, you can make them a trustee in your trust, and then he can legally be in possession of that same item. You can pass it back and forth seamlessly. Now,
without him having to go hunt. Go ahead. Without him having to go and get the $200 stamp and all.
No. So there's only one $200 stamp on a trust, and this is the beautiful thing about a trust. So you pay your $200 tax. That was my third point. Is there's no tax when you create a trust and you pay your $200. That's it. There's no more tax. If you don't create a trust, when you go to pass your items to your son, he has to fill out a form for and repay a tax just to take possessions of things you've already paid a tax on. And so the trust, from a tax standpoint, from a paperwork, from a legality standpoint, it makes the transition of stuff from one to other. Now let's get specific about your friends. So if you create a gun trust and you make 5 of your friends trustees, they don't have to pay $200. There's only one $200 fee, and any person that's a trustee in that trust can have possession of that suppressor.
Very interesting. So how much does it cost to set up a trust like this?
Well, for the guys that attend our seminar in Missouri on Saturday, it will be free. But most attorneys charge between $150 and $250 to set up a trust. There are some places online, I think with maybe Silencer Co. or Silencer Shop, where they do a trust for you. I don't know how well done it is. I've never read through their paperwork. But and I think it might be a $50 or $80 or $100 charge. But it's certainly worth looking at in this litigious environment and where the federal government has just way overreached their authority under the Constitution. You know, and I like to say, hey, follow the law, go along to get along until it's time not to. And you'll know when it's time not to.
So, Sam, just a question here. Let's just say that for horror's sake, that a Democrat does get in office in a year and a half, and
highly likely.
And right, well, yeah. So how do you think a gun trust would be affected, or a person would be affected if he had a gun trust with these red flag laws?
You know, that's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about that. Here's the interesting part of it. Like, let's say you've got a suppressor in a gun trust, okay? And you've got 3 or 4 of your friends or 2 of your sons also in the trust, maybe your daughter, okay? And you've got a problem with a neighbor. Well, the smartest thing you could do is put that in your son's safe until that issue with the neighbor is resolved. Because if that neighbor calls on you and makes a red flag complaint and they come to your house, you know what they're going to do? They're going to take every gun you have, whether it's in a trust or not. They'll take your suppressor, they'll take your ammo, they're going to take it all until there's a court proceeding. And so having stuff in a trust allows you to legally move things around and possibly avoid confiscation.
Interesting. Very good knowledge. Thank you very much. I wish I lived somewhere closer to you guys. Yeah.
You know, but the other thing is that your sheriff typically, they don't have knowledge of necessarily who's in a gun trust. You know, they don't have that in a computerized database where it pops up on their screen. And I would imagine most departments would be too lazy to research whether you had any NFA weapons or not before they raid you. If you're a red flag case, they're going to come get you and then ask questions later. And the best thing you could do if you've got an issue with somebody is to maybe have that thing stored at a different trustee's home or in their business, in their safe. And so it might buy you some flexibility. You know, that's a great question, though. Never even thought about it.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Always love Mondays.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for the
Todd.
call, Carl. We appreciate it. The call number is 800-313-9443. We're getting into nuances that I would say most people, even in the gun culture, let alone people who are not, never heard of a gun trust until today, did not know a gun trust even existed. So people are finding out information that for the general public is quite esoteric, aren't they, here, Sam?
Right, and you know, with the federal government overreaching and writing all these crazy laws like these red flag and extreme protection orders and all this stuff that are just basically gun confiscation laws that are unconstitutional, with all these laws passing around the country and all the push with Republicans pushing for it right now, I mean, it's creating mass confusion. And that's what happens. You know, they say, John, that a dying society accumulates laws like a dying man accumulates remedies. And I think that's honestly where we're at as a country. We're in trouble. And we've got so many laws now that one lawyer can't even be an expert on half of them. We have lawyers specializing in 100 different areas, just trying to understand the complexity of our legal code. And I think that's very indicative of the problem here in the United States.
Well, I've been part of the system since 1972, and I've seen many times people will hire an attorney. The attorney will, in my opinion, fraudulently take their money and then use the client's money to educate themselves on how in the world do I represent this person. And that's just wrong. But I've seen it happen many times.
So that's why they call it practicing law.
That's right. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, I think it's worth, for everybody that's listening out there, I think it's really worth a look at gun trusts and what benefits that provides you in a very litigious society. And I think that ultimately we're going to have to come up with a solution fairly quickly. We're going to have to get the federal government out of all the business of the things they're not authorized to be in, things like regulating guns. That unless they're guns being imported, the federal government has absolutely no constitutional authority to regulate any of this stuff. That should all be handled at the state level. I'm not saying we shouldn't have gun laws. I'm saying we shouldn't have the federal government in the business of gun laws. And they should be in the import business and regulating what's imported and exported. They should not be involved in your rights as a gun owner in the state that you live in. That should be your state government's prerogative. The 10th Amendment says it. The Supremacy Clause says it. For the federal government to be supreme, for their authority to be supreme in an area, it has to be in an area where there's an enumerated power granted. And that's the myth that a lot of people, they don't understand this about the Supremacy Clause. They think the federal regulations are the law no matter what. And in fact, that's not the way our government was structured by our founding fathers.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, I hope people are paying attention. I know that most of our listeners do. They're very diligent, the listeners of the John Moore Show. The call number, by the way, is 800-313-9443. Anything on the legislative end of the spectrum we need to be aware of right now, Sam?
Nothing other than Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio trying to convince Trump, which would be suicide for his presidential re-election hope, to sign these, to push these red flag laws. That's been the big push by the deep state Republicans in the last week, is to get Trump to sign these extreme order protection laws, which are really red flag gun confiscation. If Trump signs these laws, understand this, he will not win the presidency, and we will have a Democrat in the president's office. Most of the candidates running for president on the Democratic side have promised gun confiscation of AR-15s and semi-auto weapons. So understand where we're at, folks. We're in a very precipitous moment in our history right now, and I hope you're ready.
Well, the Republican PAC I'm working with to reelect President Trump is about to go public with anti-Trump agenda at the highest levels of the Republican Party. And they're willing to give up the presidency for a cycle in order to keep the deep state functioning because at that level, both sides have a system that's been in place for many decades to make untold amounts of money from the system they've got. And President Trump presents a clear and present danger to that system by dismantling it. That is the deep state, which includes both Republicans as well as Democrats, of course. So it's going to be an interesting cycle, and I agree with you. I think President Trump has figured this out. He's already publicly backed off from signing any anti-gun legislation, and instead focusing on mental illness is where the focus needs to be, and these SSRIs, psychotropic drugs, that the one connecting feature of almost all of these mass shooters, except the Muslims, they don't need any psychotropic drugs to be crazy since they're already crazy. But the one connecting feature has been psychotropic drugs of all these mass murderers, mass shooters. That's where the focus needs to be. What do you think, sir?
Well, I think other than the Las Vegas shooter, and that guy was a patsy, that guy ran a human trafficking ring, and they threw his body in a hotel room and tried to make him look like a shooter. I've got the audio tape from 2 different cell phone recordings. That guy was not the shooter.
Amazing. Hold that thought. We got a break. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Monday, the 26th of August. We're going on a cruise. It will be fun. It will be romantic. It will be educational. You'll get to spend time and talk to people you would never, ever have the opportunity to otherwise. We leave Florida the 9th of February, return a week later, Saturday the 16th. Valentine's Day is right in the middle of the cruise. You need to check this out. You really do, at my website, at thelibertyman.com. If you don't have internet access, you can give our cruise director, Betsy Murphy, a call. Her telephone is 636-530-9502. I'll be on the cruise, of course, and we'll spend a lot of time together. Betsy will send you a full-color brochure if you don't have internet access. Her telephone is 636-530-9502. It's Firearms Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews, and we're talking about anything and everything to do with rifles, shotguns, pistols. That Las Vegas matter, typically within 2 to 3 hours, Sam, there's all kinds of wild stories and wild speculation of anything of this nature before evidence is really available to be reviewed. It sounds like you've reviewed quite a bit of evidence of this, haven't you, sir?
Well, I'm an expert in external and terminal ballistics. I'm also a musician. I have some pretty sophisticated sound software to analyze sound waves. And when they sent me I got 2 phone video files with video and audio from people that were in the crowd during the shooting. And what the sound waves prove, when you throw them up on the software and you play the file and you analyze the sound waves, there was one shooter with a unsuppressed rifle shooting supersonic ammunition. And so we're hearing the supersonic crack of the bullet as it lands near the person with the phone who's recording. And then we hear the muzzle blast. And the timing of the difference between the supersonic crack and the muzzle blast tells you how far away the shooter was. Now, the interesting thing about the video and audio files in Las Vegas is there are sound signatures of 3 different weapon systems being fired from 3 distinctly different ranges. There's a supersonic rifle firing unsuppressed from about 300 yards away. Then there's a supersonic ammo being fired from a suppressed weapon system about 160 yards away. And then there's another supersonic weapon firing supersonic ammo suppressed from about 80 yards away. And so as you analyze these audio files, you can't make that evidence go away. But the Las Vegas shooting, they sealed all the evidence. They wouldn't let the public view it. They wouldn't let attorneys view it. And they did the same thing at Sandy Hook. And I'm telling you, when they seal all this evidence in these mass shootings, they're crooked. Something's been set up. And they set this guy up as a patsy to get rid of him and make him look like a mass shooter. You know what wasn't in the hotel room? When you look at the video that's been released, there was no hot brass. They claim this guy fired 400 rounds from 2 different positions in this elevated hotel room, and the interesting thing is there was no hot brass. There was no brass melting the cover. And when you fire the 60th round out of a semi-auto weapon, that piece of brass comes out of the chamber so hot that it will melt Antron 4 carpet and just stick to the carpet. It'll melt nylon on furniture. It will leave a burn mark on leather. And so what's really amazing is you go in, you look at the video of the SWAT team entering, and you know what you don't see? You don't see 400 pieces of brass. You see one piece of brass here, one piece of brass over there. And if you're firing from two different positions with two different weapons, you've got a pile of brass in about a 2-foot circle somewhere. If you're firing 200 rounds, you've got massive amounts of brass in a 2 to 3 foot circle to the right of the ejection port, maybe 6, maybe 8 feet. And you know what? None of that. They had one piece of brass on the middle of the floor. They had one on the sofa. They had one in the windowsill. I mean, it was a joke. They staged that whole scene.
So this is the body cams worn by the SWAT teams where that evidence is coming from?
Yeah, and you can look at the evidence video taken by the guy after the SWAT team leaves. Same thing. Sometimes it's not what you see when you're looking for evidence. Sometimes it's what you don't see that matters.
Well,
obviously. In this particular case, for a guy that fired 400 rounds, well, where's the evidence of all the spent brass? Where did all the brass go?
Well, that's a question that obviously needs to be answered. Let's move on to our caller here. We got John in Tennessee. Good morning, John.
Boy, Sam, I'm glad you brought up the Harbor shooting. I'm in Music City, okay? Let me tell you what happened shortly after Las Vegas. First of all, country music has been involved in bad activities for 60 or 70 years. A lot of drug running. People don't realize that. So Jason Aldean had another singer that was supposed to be on tour with him. I can't recall his name. But he canceled, Sam, because it was his 33rd birthday.
Hold that thought, John. We got to break. Stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Back, ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 26th of August. My website is thelibertyman.com. If you're interested in personally owning silver coins, gold coins, at the top of my website at thelibertyman.com, you'll see a red box with a gold ribbon. Looks like a Christmas package. Just click on that. That's the landing site for my friend Steve Hunt. Steve's a real deal. He really is. He loves helping people achieve their financial goals. He's the John Moore radio show economic advisor. He's on every Thursday. So check that out. Also at my website, of course, if you've got arthritis pain, just go to my website at thelibertyman.com, and under products, there's a drop-down menu. Just go to the energy cleaner, educate yourself about the energy cleaner. How this came into being is phenomenal. Read the testimonials from people like our friend Steve Whitman, and then make your decision about getting an energy cleaner, a mattress pad to go with it. You'll be very glad you did. Keep in mind, I offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. You can place your order right there at my website, or you can call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. This is Firearms Monday, visiting with Sam Andrews down there at Freedom Center USA. The Facebook page is Freedom Center USA. And I forgot whose turn it was. John was commenting about these various shootings. And John, did you give Sam a question he can answer, or go ahead?
Well, sure. Let me just basically, Sam, I went in the military at 17, went in the Air Force. And because of the testing, for spatial thought that they couldn't measure. I said that to say this. So they made me a weapons mechanic, 20, 30 mil, bombs, rockets, you name it. I'm not a military expert. I'm not a weapons, small arms expert, but I do know exactly what you're saying. You can measure the sound wave, the time it took. You see 3 distinct different rifles being used. And because of mathematics, you can determine how far away they were. So basically, we were lied to. Now, on that tour, Jason Aldean was supposed to have another singer with him, but he was turning 33, so he begged out. And a week after the Harvest shooting, went on his own tour, Sam, with being transported by a trucking company called SET Transport, S-E-T, with a sun symbol on the doorway. The name of the tour, Sam, Hell on the Highway Tour. A couple weeks later, Jason Aldean comes out with a song called the They Don't Know Tour. So they're in your face. We're being led to believe lies, and because of our trust and our ignorance, I don't mean that in a bad way, but because people just don't know. They're truly ignorant of what's going on. They're believing the lie. They're trusting a government that we have every reason on earth not to trust, but we're trusting them because we've been trained and programmed to believe that this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, a Christian-formed nation, one nation under God. And I believe that, but I want to ask them, what God? There are many gods. There's only one true God, but what God have you formed this nation under? Is it money? Is it something other than money? Because our lives, our very lives, Sam, are being taxed without our permission. And if someone's taking someone without Sam's permission, or mine or John's permission, we call that thievery. We call that crooks.
Okay.
So anyway, this is my question to you. Do you know about the hard drive? Missing hard drive in his laptop. I didn't see any blood in the room, Sam. He killed himself. There was no blood in the room. Why can you and I see it and no one else?
Let Sam answer that. Thank you for your call, John. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. John brings up some interesting points. We have some philosophical problems in this country. Good people don't want to think bad of other people. It's hard for a person that's lived a clean life to even imagine that their government is corrupt as it is. But think about it. 11 of the top 12 operators in the FBI have been forced to step down in the last 18 months. That's not because they weren't corrupt. It's because they were corrupt. They were forced to step down, including the director of the FBI, who should be in jail for crimes. But here's the problem. When you're a good person, you're going to assume that everybody else is good as well. If you're a bad person, you're going to assume it's like the person who always thinks their spouse is cheating on them. That's the one that's probably out having affairs because it's on their mind. And so the caller brings up an interesting point. We've been lied to about the Vegas shooting. That was a manipulated deal. There was hardly any blood at all in the room. There wasn't 400 pieces of spent brass in the hotel room. I mean, the whole thing was fabricated, and it was done poorly. And so, once again, asking what should be there that isn't is important.
I want you to consider the following. Now, I've put together a number of operations myself. You have also. An operation of this size, of this complexity, I think there's a high likelihood the planning began with the belief that Hillary Clinton would have been president when it was carried out, with an objective, obviously, of instituting some really draconian anti-gun laws. Of course, she wasn't president. They had a plan in place, everything ready to go. They went ahead and pulled the trigger on it anyway to go ahead and move forward. But you've been on some planning some complex operations yourself. Is it possible that this operation was planned during the Obama administration with the belief that Hillary Clinton would be president when it was carried out? Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I think it's entirely possible that was the situation. I think that it was planned for the reason of creating a public motivation to confiscate assault weapons. See, that's the thing that that globalist elites need. They need to make the American male rifleman go away. The guy that knows how to use an AR-15. We got to get rid of those 70 million men in America that have AR-15s and know how to use them. That's the problem for them. That's the one thing that's thwarting their agenda. And so I think what you're saying is entirely possible and, in fact, probable.
Okay. Well, you just reinforced what I thought would be the answer, and I guess that's a good thing. We're up against, and I was talking to a friend last night on telephone, this is ultimately spiritual warfare. We talk about all these different things going on, but until you put the spiritual warfare component in it, a lot of what's going on makes no sense, does it?
Well, it really is a battle of good versus evil. You know, a lot of people use these mass shootings. Maybe they kill 7 people, maybe they kill 27 people. But they use these mass shootings, and, you know, any death is a tragedy. I don't want to minimize that by any stretch. But when you lose 1,500 people a year to gun violence, it pales in comparison to losing the 40 million when governments decide to commit genocide on their own population. There's no moral equivalence to 1,500 people dying by gun violence and 40 million dying by violence from your government. And so the Founding Fathers were right. They were morally correct. They were genius in their placement of the Second Amendment. And thank God for those men.
Absolutely. Well, I was told by a friend many years ago that the men who wrote the Constitution and the first 10 amendments, they were very careful to make it technology neutral. And that was clever and smart on their part, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I'd like to remind everybody, you know, when the Founding Fathers decided to put the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights, they didn't just come home from a hunting trip. They just finished killing British men and fighting for freedom. They just won a war. And they didn't want to have to fight another one. And so they said to themselves, the way to do this is to ensure that the people retain the power. That way the government will never get too abusive. Well, the government has encroached on our freedoms incrementally, tried to lull us to sleep. And I'll remind you, in Boulder, Colorado, when they banned AR-15s last year, only 28 rifles were turned in by a total of 3 people. Everyone in this country now knows we're not registering anything, we're not turning anything in, no more gun control. We see the agenda, we know what's coming, and we're not going to play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is your wake-up call, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not armed, you need to be armed. If you are armed, you need to get trained. If you are training, you need to upgrade your training. You need lots of ammunition. Ammunition, I don't believe, will ever be less expensive or less available than it is now. The shelves are well stocked, the prices are reasonable, and the time to stock up on ammunition is right now, isn't it, Sam?
Absolutely. You've got plenty of magazines and inventory. I think RSR had 10,000 PMags in stock a couple weeks ago when I looked. I mean, there are tons of magazines in stock. There's plenty of ammo on the shelves, and I would encourage you to prioritize. I had a gentleman come in my shop the other day. He said, "Do you have any Reloaders 23 gunpowder?" Because he wants to load for his new high-speed 30 caliber long-range rifle. I said, "Yeah, I've got plenty of Reloaders 23. I've got it in 8-pounders." He goes, "Oh, I don't want to buy 8 pounds. I just want a pound to test with." And I thought to myself, well, we already know that Reloaders 23 is the powder to use for this particular cartridge and the bullet weight you want to load for. Why don't you just buy 8 pounds so you don't have to buy different lots and retest for pressure? And he complained. He's like, $200. Now, this is the same guy that 5 minutes before told me he just put $20,000 down on a brand new Razor ATV vehicle for his family to play with. And so it begs the question, what are your priorities, young man?
His priorities are really screwed up there. Let's take this call here, Sam. We got Jerry in Texas. He's taking a break from feeding his goats. Good morning, Jerry.
Well, good morning, Sam. Good morning, John. Talking about the laws and I think John calls them nefarious ideas and things that they're trying to do. Last week, in the great state of Texas, our illustrious Governor Abbott and various agencies got together to address how to handle the red flag situations and control of certain firearms in the state of Texas. Shock. It's kind of like this TAPS act that they started throwing out after the Walmart shooting, and what was that on? I don't remember now, but anyway, here a couple of 3 weeks ago. It's kind of curious that Walmart welcomes open and concealed firearms in their stores here in Texas. Kind of strange that this guy went in and started shooting up a Walmart store and nobody shot back. Hello? And then they come up with this Threat Assessment Protection and Safety Act. Wow. But it took them all 30 minutes to get this written and try to pass. Kind of like the Patriot Act. They've got all this stuff already written and drawn out and everything. They're just looking for the right moment to enact it. This has been going on for decades, and that just irritates the daylights out of me. They keep searching for the right moment, the right instant to push all this stuff through. It took 9/11 to get the Patriot Act and take away our freedoms of movement in this country. Just throw that out for what it's worth, and I appreciate you coming on, John, on Monday morning, Sam. I've learned a lot.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for the call, Jerry. We appreciate it.
Your caller's exactly right, John, and all of these things are orchestrated to take away freedoms, and everybody's onto their game, so nobody's going to play anymore. We're all done with gun control. And these Republicans, like the governor of Texas, who is a very popular guy in Texas until he started talking about gun control, these deep state Republicans have shown their true colors in the last 2 months. And I hope everybody's paying attention. Remember this, Ronald Reagan, this bastion of conservative, this hero Republican president, banned more guns with the stroke of a pen than all other presidents combined. You have to watch these Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Governor of Texas, Mr. Abbott, these deep state Republicans. They'll take your guns faster than the Democrats will. And history proves it. A Republican president named Ronald Reagan banned more guns than all other presidents combined. And so don't think that the Republicans in the deep state don't want your guns just as bad as the Democrats.
Tell people what he did. please, because a lot of people, I know what he did, but go ahead and tell people what he did.
Well, he signed, I think it was in '86.
It was.
He signed some legislation that banned the import of certain guns, that banned the sale of certain guns, and if I recall, but weren't they all most of them semi-auto rifles?
Right. Well, in addition, he stopped the sale of new automatic weapons to civilians, which makes a $300 Thompson M1 submachine gun worth $20,000 now. Not to mention the full auto change that he made, and so well, that's what I'm talking about. Automatic weapons. Right.
Yeah, this type of stuff is just terrible. And these Republicans, you've got to watch them because they're not who you think they are.
Nope.
The NRA is not who you think they are. And so I would encourage everyone, if you're going to give money to a gun organization, give it to Gun Owners of America. They will sue the federal government every time they try and pass an unconstitutional law. Well, the NRA has been complicit on every law proposed, every major piece of gun control legislation since 1934. Stop giving your money to the NRA. They're corrupt. Go to Gun Owners of America or find an organization that will defend your rights.
I've had Larry Pratt on the show a number of times. I've met Larry Pratt and talked to him several times in person. He's now kind of a emeritus status, but he's still active. Here's our break. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 26th of August. If you need to contact Sam Andrews for anything related to firearms, just give him a call at 417-718-2597. I want to wrap up this show by encouraging everybody to do the following. You pick out your main rifle that you would use to defend life and liberty, and you contact Sam and have Sam put together a spare parts kit. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a 100-year-old 303 British Enfield. It could be a brand new Remington or a brand new Winchester or Savage or anything in between. It would be a crying shame to have that rifle become a paperweight because you did not have a $1 spring or a $2 spare part for that particular rifle. And Sam, you'll help people put those together and ship them to them, won't you, Sam? Oh, Sam's gone. Oh, well, never mind. He must have had to run off to his physical therapy session, and that's okay. But these spare part kits are very important. Sam will work with you to put together, start out with that main rifle, whatever that might be. Your Savage, your Winchester, your Remington, that 100-year-old bolt-action 303 Enfield, that 100-year-old Springfield rifle, whatever it might be. Now, some older rifles made before 1900, it may be difficult to put together spare parts kits. But these common military rifles made since 1900, the 1903 Springfield, for example, the 1917 Enfield, the 303 Enfield, M1 Garands, M1 carbines, of course, all the ARs, obviously. You need to do this. You need to do it now. It will give you peace of mind. That $20 or $30 that you spend on spare parts to keep your rifle running, that will truly be peace of mind. And in my opinion, it's not optional. Once this thing gets going, we have 14 months. I hope we have 14 months to get ready. I don't know that we do. I was talking to a friend yesterday who believes that we got more than 14 months. I hope that person's right. I don't know. Every day we get, every week, every month, where things are normal, that big brown truck from UPS, that big white truck from FedEx who drives up your driveway to drop off a spare parts kit, water filters, the freeze-dried food, whatever it is. That's a blessing from God, and take advantage of it. But don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Call up Sam. He will work with you to get a inexpensive spare parts kit. And here's what breaks on rifles, shotguns, and pistols: springs and ejectors and firing pins. Springs and ejectors and firing pins. It doesn't matter if it's a brand new Winchester or a 100-year-old Winchester. That's what breaks. That's what Sam will do. He's the gunsmith. He's the expert. I can't do this. I wouldn't pretend to do this. But Sam can and will do it for you. It's one of the services he provides to put together a spare parts kit for your specific rifle. That's it for the day. Medical supplies, units, plenty of essential oils. Now, while you can, your firearms and ammunition. Never, ever give guns. Please do a fun, safe, productive day. God bless America.